Leo, this week begins with a card that changes the question. Three of Pentacles does not ask, "What will happen to me?" It asks, "How do I want to meet what is already taking shape?" Your central thesis is that worth becomes more stable when it is connected to craft rather than constant recognition. The deeper tension is craft versus applause. That means the most important movement may happen inside a decision, a boundary, a conversation, or a pattern that looks ordinary from the outside. Tarot works best here as a mirror rather than a verdict. Use the card to notice where you are acting from clarity and where you may be using over-delivery to prove value instead of building value deliberately. The verified cosmic weather gives that card a precise context. On August 22nd, the Sun enters Virgo in your second house, bringing attention toward income, resources, possessions, skills, priorities, and self-worth. Then on August 25th, Mercury enters Virgo in that same second house, adding language, analysis, decisions, and practical thought to the same territory. Those are the only transits we need for this reading. Their usefulness is not that they guarantee an event, it is that they identify a part of life where greater attention may be timely. Virgo asks for detail, usefulness, and discernment. Your card tells you what kind of inner posture to bring to those details. Together, they encourage you to notice what is actually working, what is merely familiar, and what small correction could make a larger difference than another dramatic promise. The reveal is Three of Pentacles. Think of it as the spine of the reading rather than a prediction. This card asks you to notice how you are using your attention and power. The tension is craft versus applause, and the shadow is using over-delivery to prove value instead of building value deliberately. You may discover that the same external action can come from two very different internal places. Saying no can be clarity or avoidance. Waiting can be wisdom or fear. Speaking can be honesty or control. The work is not to judge yourself for the shadow, it is to identify it early enough that you still have a choice. The deeper meaning of Three of Pentacles for Leo is not about performing the obvious keyword of the card. It is about applying its wisdom where your usual strengths can become overextended. This week, craft versus applause may show up in subtle ways. In how long you wait before answering, how quickly you volunteer, what you assume another person means, or what you keep doing because it once worked. The key is to recognize that your first instinct can be intelligent and still incomplete. Give yourself one additional beat before important choices. Ask what the choice is protecting, what it is building, and what cost it creates if repeated for 6 months. That longer horizon turns tarot from a mood into a practical lens. Let's move through the areas of life, because the card becomes clearer when it touches something concrete. Love. In love and close connection, look at cooperation, not only admiration. A healthy relationship includes follow-through, shared maintenance, and the willingness to learn how to love each other better. The deeper task is to watch whether you are asking another person to manage an insecurity that really needs a clearer conversation with yourself. Relationships become more honest when expectations are spoken before resentment has to translate them. If you are partnered, focus on the quality of the agreement rather than winning a moment. If you are single, Focus on behavior that is repeatable rather than chemistry that is only intense. The card does not ask you to close your heart. It asks you to keep your standards connected to reality. Work. In work and purpose, seek precise feedback, training, or collaboration. Document the results your skill creates and stop assuming others automatically understand the value of invisible competence. This is a week to value processes that can be repeated. One heroic effort can rescue a deadline, but it rarely creates a sustainable professional life. Ask what the work needs in order to be cleaner, more legible, or more aligned with your actual role. If you are considering a change, look at the structure around the change as carefully as the possibility itself. Competence is not only what you can do under pressure, it is what you can build so that pressure is not always required. Money. With money and resources, audit what you earn, charge, spend, and invest in skill. Sustainable contribution requires material support. Underpricing is not humility when it creates resentment. Try to move one financial choice out of the emotional fog and into a written decision. Numbers can trigger fear, hope, pride, or avoidance, but the number itself is still information. Give yourself enough compassion to look clearly and enough discipline to act on what you see. The goal is not to become rigid. It is to reduce the number of financial decisions that have to be reinvented every time your mood changes. Health and energy. For health and energy, think in terms of technique rather than motivation. Better form, pacing, guidance, or recovery may create more progress than another burst of intensity. Your body does not need to become another arena where you prove discipline or goodness. Treat signals as information. Notice which practices actually restore capacity and which only create the feeling that you are being productive about your well-being. Sustainable care usually looks less dramatic than a reset. It looks like choices you can repeat even when the week becomes inconvenient. There is also a psychological layer worth naming. For Leo, the week may expose how quickly you equate familiarity with safety. Three of Pentacles interrupts that reflex by asking whether the familiar response still produces the result you want. You do not need to reject your natural style. You need to become more selective about when it is useful. This is where the distinction between craft versus applause becomes practical. The mature choice may feel less dramatic because it does not need to prove anything in the moment. It may simply create less cleanup tomorrow. Pay attention to that. Peace after a decision is useful information. Now let's walk through the week day by day. These are reflection points, not predictions about fixed events. Wednesday. Name one skill you underestimate because it comes naturally to you. Do not force a major conclusion from one moment. Use the day to observe the pattern and make the next reasonable choice. Thursday. Ask a competent person for one specific piece of feedback. Do not force a major conclusion from one moment. Use the day to observe the pattern and make the next reasonable choice. Friday. Let a collaboration improve the work instead of taking over simply because you can. Do not force a major conclusion from one moment. Use the day to observe the pattern and make the next reasonable choice. Saturday. The sun enters Virgo in your second house. Bring attention to compensation, resources, and the practical return on effort. Do not force a major conclusion from one moment. Use the day to observe the pattern and make the next reasonable choice. Sunday. Do something enjoyable without needing it to become productive or impressive. Do not force a major conclusion from one moment. Use the day to observe the pattern and make the next reasonable choice. Monday. Document one result or contribution you would otherwise forget. Do not force a major conclusion from one moment. Use the day to observe the pattern and make the next reasonable choice. Tuesday. Mercury enters Virgo in your second house. Have the practical conversation about price, budget, scope, fee, raise, or value. Do not force a major conclusion from one moment. Use the day to observe the pattern and make the next reasonable choice. Before we close, here are exactly 3 journal prompts for the week. Prompt 1. What skill of mine creates more value than I currently acknowledge? Prompt 2. Where would collaboration improve the quality of what I am building? Prompt 3. What am I still pricing, giving, or judging from an outdated sense of my worth? Your weekly guidance is a concrete assignment, not another idea to admire. Perform a 3-pentacle value audit. Choose 3 abilities you use often. For each, write what you do, the result it creates, and what would improve it by 10%. Pick one skill and invest in it this week through practice, training, feedback, or a better tool. End by writing one sentence that describes its value without apology or exaggeration. The purpose is to create evidence. By the end of the week, you should be able to point to one behavior that changed because you understood the card differently. Keep the exercise small enough to finish. A completed experiment teaches you more than an ambitious ritual you abandon halfway through. As you close this reading, remember the central thesis: worth becomes more stable when it is connected to craft rather than constant recognition. You are not required to know the entire outcome. You are being asked to choose the quality of your participation. Let Three of Pentacles become a reminder that symbolic guidance is most useful when it returns you to agency, honesty, and practical action. Your affirmation for the week is, I let my value be built through skill, integrity, and work that can stand on its own. Carry that with you through August 25th. Subscribe so your next weekly reading is waiting for you. Trust the timing. The stars have spoken.